Hello, Max here, and I wanted to talk a little about anxiety when queuing for competitive games. This is a well-documented and researched emotional response to playing the competitive format of any game, often known as ladder or ranked anxiety. I'm doing this video because some of you have requested it, and I am really glad you did. Researching this has helped me challenge a few preconceptions I had about myself. Apparently, I'm not perfect. I know, I'm just as surprised as you are. I've generally never thought of myself as an anxious person. A lot of this comes from the fact that I'm very lazy. I am lazy because I am content with most situations, and when you are so easily content, it is difficult to find the motivation to work towards something you might want. That attitude of, I can live without it, is so often my reaction to anything that requires hard work. However, I do enjoy being challenged and overcoming that challenge, which feels very contradictory. I'm starting to think perhaps it's more anxiety of failure that often makes me lazy instead. Who would have thought researching for YouTube content about a video game would lead to a personal psychological breakthrough? Don't worry, I'm not about to start telling you about my mother, this is all relevant to the topic. Fear of failure is the main catalyst behind competitive anxiety. Anxiety itself is a form of fear. Fear of not being in control and able to prevent whatever it is we're afraid of. With Overwatch, it is a fear of losing a team game, and in losing that game we will lose skill rating and our EP will get smaller. If you step back and try to put competitive Overwatch in perspective, it all seems a little crazy. Overwatch is something we play for fun. We're not professional players, and that little number on the play competitive button is pretty meaningless in the grand scheme of life, the universe, and everything else. Why do we feel anxious about clicking that button when our life will quite happily carry on the same whether we win or lose? We click that button because we want to be challenged, and we want that challenge to mean something more than just winning that game. That number on the button represents just how much challenge you've overcome, and watching it increase feels good. It feels really good. And if the number is going up, it is an indication that we are learning and improving at something we get a lot of joy out of. Conversely, if that number falls, we feel disappointment and shame, and we want to avoid that feeling at all costs. Well, avoiding that feeling is easy. Don't play competitive, just stick to quick play, where although you still want to win, there is nothing more on the line than just that game. But it's not that easy, is it? If you're like me, you have a large part of you screaming internally for the real challenge, putting your skill and knowledge to the test to see how high you can rank, because it feels so fucking good when that little number goes up. So how do we keep getting that buzz of improving while coping with the difficulty of pressing that button? First, we need to understand it is anxiety we feel, and we will all feel it to a greater or lesser degree. Do you feel nervous or worried about playing competitive? I would be extremely surprised if you didn't feel at least a twinge of concern. Any interview you see with a professional gamer or sportsman, no matter how long they've been doing it, they say, "I still get nervous before a game." Although they of course have far more pressure on them, this is the same anxiety we have about playing our own competitive games. What if I have a bad game? What if my team is garbage? What if I have toxic players on my team? What if I make a big mistake? What if I can't play my main? What if we have offensive Torbjorn? This is all completely normal and actually very good for our performance if we understand what it is and how to use it. When we are anxious, our body releases a number of stress-related hormones, including adrenaline and cortisol. Adrenaline dilates our pupils, increasing sensory awareness, and increases the flow of blood to our muscles, giving us faster muscle response. This will improve our mechanical skill, giving us more power to shoot people in the face. Cortisol stimulates our brain and gives us an increased awareness of our surroundings. This will improve our macro game with far better positioning, as we'll be better equipped to know who is dead and who is alive and where everyone is at all times. Too much of these hormones will have a negative impact, causing us to tunnel vision on our now subpar mechanical skill, leaving us completely oblivious to our surroundings. Extreme anxiety can even lead to symptoms like cold or sweaty hands, shortness of breath, or heart palpitations. Conversely, if we have absolutely zero anxiety, we would have none of the benefits a small amount of stress can bring to our game. So how do we stay at that sweet spot where we have the adrenaline and cortisol at the positive levels that keep us crushing the hopes and dreams of nerds on the ladder? Exercise, I'm afraid, is a huge factor in controlling the hormone levels in our body. Healthy body, healthy mind isn't just one of those things people say, it is actually a medical fact. Outside of trying to stay fit, we've already taken the first big step towards our goal. We've identified that we feel anxiety about these games, and we embrace that as a positive thing. We know that we can channel the benefits into making us a better player. The second and maybe most important step is accepting that we are going to lose games. Everyone loses games. What if I have a bad game? Yep, that's sometimes going to happen. We all have games where we just don't play to the best of our ability. If you follow the advice in this video, however, you will have less of them. What if my team is garbage? Yep, that's sometimes going to happen. There is not much you can do about that. Raging at them is only going to increase your stress levels, and as we've already discussed, that will negatively affect your own performance and probably theirs too. What if I have toxic players on my team? Yep, that's sometimes going to happen. If you're not someone that can just ignore them, then jump into the social menu and mute them. What if I make a big mistake? Yep, that's sometimes going to happen. Don't dwell on it. It happens to all of us, no matter what level we play at. Just accept it, learn what you can from it, and move on. What if I can't play my main? Yep, that's sometimes going to happen. Make sure you have at least 2 heroes in every role you are comfortable playing and be a cooperative member of your team. What if we have offensive Torbjorn? Sadly, this too is sometimes going to happen. All of these things will happen in some of your games, and some of those games are going to be losses because of it. Accept this as fact and accept that it doesn't matter. A 60% win rate is a high win rate and a fast way to climb a competitive ladder, but that still means you're losing 40 games in every 100, or 400 games in every 1,000. There is always going to be variants that negatively impact individual games, but improving your play and increasing your skill rating is never about a single game. The more games you play, the less those negative factors matter, and also the less anxiety you will feel in playing those games. If you really can't help but focus on the individual games and not the overall picture, try to adjust your attitude and see each game as a learning experience. Set yourself personal goals that you're looking to improve. Maybe it's your accuracy on Tracer, or your critical hit accuracy on McCree, or maybe reducing your deaths on Mercy. Make the game about hitting those goals so you can get small wins even if the game ends up being a loss. This way you will continue to improve, having a positive impact on your games more often, leading to more wins in the long run. Another good tip is to queue with a friend and use separate voice comms. Of course, still use the in-game voice chat to communicate with your team, but separate voice comms with a friend gives you a safe place to vent about the things you're not happy about in the game. This is incredibly cathartic and goes a long way to keeping you and your friend level-headed while playing. If you don't have anyone to play with, there is a link to the Cynical Nerds Discord in the description, where we have plenty of people at varying skill ratings across both EU and NA who are happy to queue with people at a similar rating. Whatever you do, just keep playing those games. Your skill rating is not an accurate representation unless you are playing as many games as you can in a season. It doesn't matter what rank you play at, keep your own personal goals of trying to improve, and next season try to hit a higher top rank. Well, that about wraps up this look at competitive anxiety. I did a good amount of research for this video, but I am not a medical professional and I have not consulted directly with one when making this video. If you are regularly experiencing any extreme anxiety symptoms, please speak to someone who is appropriately qualified. I don't want any of you to put your health at risk. However, if you're looking for more Overwatch advice, subscribe for weekly content. You can follow me on Twitter at TotallyFutile, and our Patreon campaign can be found on patreon.com/cynicalnerds. We stream 4 nights a week on twitch.tv/cynicalnerds, and as already mentioned, a link to our Discord can be found in the description. Until next time, take it easy, and I'll see you soon.